Well, here on GMK, we often invite Shanae from the Sedgwick County Zoo to tell us about different things that we can go and explore. And certainly it's a nice time of year to go and check things out. But you're here to educate us on something a little different, a rather intimidating display in front of us, too.
It
That's
is
for
a
sure.
little bit different. You know, June often kicks off the start of travel season, and people in Wichita travel all over the world.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember the souvenirs that you bring back should also tread lightly on the planet as well. And often when we're thinking of souvenirs, we don't think about the wildlife consequences behind them. So everything that I have here are actually things that were purchased and illegally brought back into the United States.
Okay.
Many of them were caught at the border, and this is all part of a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service program where they then, from their repository, will donate these items to zoos to be able to utilize. So some of them are pieces that, you know, you could easily find in a market. If you've ever been down to South America, you'll often see people selling things like this. These are macaw feathers, and this particular macaw was an endangered species, and this was illegal to bring into the United States. Here's a beautiful necklace that's just black coral. But this type of coral is an endangered species, and it was illegal to bring it into the United States. Now, I'm a K-State fan.
Yeah.
But the purple cowboy boots here are a type of caiman, which was illegal to bring into the United States. And then, of course, sometimes we forget about our invertebrate friends. If we look at this one, this particular butterfly is one that is protected. Because of that, then when it was purchased and brought in, even though this would have been a pretty little trinket to put in your bathroom or something, you were actually breaking federal wildlife laws.
How do you know if you
That's
are? Because something like this, like the necklace, I would be like, oh, I'd be at a market and buying it and wouldn't think anything of it.
Most people, it's hard to tell. So if you're in doubt, don't purchase.
Okay.
That's the most important thing. If you have any idea whatsoever, just don't purchase it. That's things like terracotta, that kind of stuff. Anything that's more material based is okay, but anything that's plant or animal based, you really have to be careful of. But the lion here is probably the biggest piece.
And
this actually has a really strong Wichita connection. This piece was part of a wildlife confiscation operation right here in Wichita. Often in Wichita, we forget about the wildlife trade. And the important thing to know about the wildlife trade is that illegal wildlife, guns, drugs, human trafficking, terrorism all go together.
Right.
So to stop one, you stop them all. So you might say, oh, I don't really care about a lion. But if you care about terrorism, if you care about human trafficking, if you care about some of those other things, you can make a difference. This particular piece was part of a wildlife sting that was here in Wichita, where a gentleman paid $8,000 to have 2 tiger pelts brought into Kansas for him. When the wildlife agents went to his house here in Wichita, and that's important to know, they confiscated the 2 pelts that he had just purchased and also found this pelt in his house.
Wow.
So anybody that thinks because we're in Kansas, we're part of the Great Plains, this isn't us, it is us. The United States is still the #2 consumer of ivory in the world, and shortly we will go to #1. China has strengthened its wildlife laws to make it more difficult. The United States has not. So shortly, probably in the next 2 years, we'll see us probably being the #1 consumer of elephant ivory in the world.
That's just heartbreaking.
Just so we can have something like a trinket like this. So I always say it's more beautiful on the animals. Nature is magnificent. Let's let it stay wild. Take those photos and don't take those products when you travel.
All right. Well, just be mindful as you're traveling and exploring and buying things, and definitely support the local economy wherever you go. But
Absolutely.
Just be smart about what you go.
Because
you don't want to get in trouble for it later on.
Exactly.
All right, Shanae. Well, we're so glad to have you here this morning. I think we all learned a lot. So something to store ahead of our travels this year. We'll be right back.